What's going on? My name is Ryan Morgan and class is in session. In today's lesson, I am going to educate you and the general public on why you should seriously stop buying Amazon stores from scratch. I'm telling you that business model does not work, and I'm going to compare it to acquisitions automation, a service that my team created to solve the epidemic of millions and millions of people getting scammed out of their money in an effort to create cash flow to take care of their families. So if you ever heard of Amazon automation, here's the pitch. The idea is you invest $25,000 to $50,000 to hire a team to set up an e-com store for you, and it takes anywhere from 6 to 9 months to become profitable. They're using your money to hire people offshore in the Philippines or in some sort of Asian country to list products and to arbitrage those products, drop shipping items, creating passive income and cash flow. And so you, the client, you've got to invest money into the service, but then you also have to invest money into credit to arbitrage the products. Meaning you need to have anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 available on a credit card. So if someone buys a product, say it's one of these lights, right? So the cost of the light on the store is $50. You use your credit card for $35, and then there's a $15 margin, and then that's split. That's the whole idea of Amazon automation. And I'm here to tell you that the model doesn't work. And so what I'm going to do is go over the pros and cons of Amazon automation versus the service that we've created called acquisition automation. I'll give you a quick overview on that. So what this service is we help people with the same price of Amazon automation. We help people buy businesses for them. And so what we're doing is we're using that money to fund staff here in the States, and we're collecting data on motivated sellers and then connecting those motivated sellers to private equity groups that want to acquire, and then we're compensated with equity and cash flow in exchange for completing that transaction. And so very similar to Amazon, it does take about 6 to 9 months to complete. However, there's way more upside on completing it, because when that deal is done, then we now have ownership of a 7-figure asset that already has value, it's already producing income, versus the idea of starting a store from scratch, paying a team, hoping them to produce over time to create cash flow, when the reality is once you pay that Amazon team, they can use that money to grow the store that is already making money that you don't have ownership on. So I'm going to quickly go over the pros and cons, and I honestly thought of a few more cons while I was shooting this video. So let's go over the pros. So Amazon, everyone's heard of Amazon, so that's the big reason why people keep getting drawn into this concept of let's start an Amazon store, because it's a really big brand, it's the largest e-com platform in the world, and obviously there's a lot of traffic and there's a lot of awareness of the idea of investing in Amazon. So that's why these guys are able to continuously convince you to start a new store, because it's such a big brand. You go to Amazon all the day and you're like, why can't I just own a store? Why can't I just hire someone to do it for you? And the reality is you can't, or there's very few companies that can do it for you or are actually willing to do it, because it's just saturated, right? So let's go to the cons. That's the biggest reason. At this point, it's just saturated. It's not a new idea anymore. If you're watching this video, I'm shooting it in 2023. Amazon stores, the idea of building them for clients, that was 5-10 years ago. And so that's one of the biggest reasons why it's so difficult to make money in the space at all, is just because there's so many other stores already there. There's not really a lot to make yours stand out. And so when you pay someone $50K that's managing 20 to 50 other clients, plus there's thousands of other stores, there's no reason for them to actually deliver. So one of the main cons, even when Amazon's automation was going well, is suspensions. So that's just the idea of you set up a store, and at any point in time, Amazon can just suspend you, basically making your business obsolete. They turn it off, and then you have to jump through a bunch of hoops begging Jeff Bezos to put your business back online. Okay, another main con is you're hiring offshore staff. So you're paying these low quality staff. Obviously, every business in some capacity in this modern economy has offshore staff, but the basis of what you're paying is you're paying 50K, and a majority of that income or capital is going to staff overseas to dropship items, and it doesn't actually make sense, because the reality is like these offshore people are the ones doing the work, but you're just paying these American consultants a really high commission to manage people that are working for a very small amount of money. And so that's one of the big reasons why this doesn't add up. The reality is you're just paying people to oversee staff that aren't actually delivering value. Another main con of Amazon automation is you don't own the data. So like you can get your store suspended at any time because you don't own the platform and you don't own any of the customer data. So you can actually build a successful Amazon store generating a lot of money, but you don't have the phone numbers and the emails of any of the customers that are buying from you, which doesn't provide true scale or the ability to create equity, because when you resell it, it doesn't have nearly as much value as it would if you actually own the business. And then finally, transparency. So if you ever purchased an Amazon store, one of the big horror stories is that you just like pay this team to set it up, and you like hear from them for a few weeks or a few months, and then they just close down the doors and you never hear from them again, because you can't see what they're doing. They don't show you the process on how the store is being built. There's no visibility on all the other stores that they own. Like very few companies do that. They typically just have you focus on one store, and they say, hey, we're listing a few products and this is what's going on. We didn't make any sales. Have a good day. But you can't see the value of the entire portfolio. And so that's the these are the big reasons why Amazon automation, I just genuinely wouldn't recommend it in 2023. It's just a saturated, outdated model, and most of the companies that are offering the service aren't doing it ethically, and they're just taking advantage of unseasoned buyers that are desperate for a quick buck. And so what I want to do now is compare Amazon, right? This is a model, Amazon automation, where hundreds of millions of dollars has literally been lost by regular, everyday Americans that are looking to create income from their family. And so this is a brand new concept that I created, acquisition automation. And so what I would say a con of acquisition automation that I didn't put is new model, right? So it is a newer model, right? There's not thousands of stores that you can look at similar to with Amazon. But that's what makes it a great opportunity, is that it's not saturated, okay? So let me just quickly go over the cons first of acquisitions. Number one is there's a lot of competition. It's a very cutthroat industry. You're competing with some of the largest private equity groups in the world, and but if you know how to work with them, then you actually can leverage their greed to make money by delivering them quality deals. The next con is it's expensive. Okay, so acquisition automation, it's anywhere from 25 to 50K, which is more than most people can afford, but that's just the service fee. To acquire a business, you could need anywhere from 300 to 500,000 or more. But that's why we have the service where we connect our clients to private equity, so that you don't need to come up with all that out-of-pocket down payment capital. Another con is it's time consuming. So it does take, the average acquisition takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months, but with our service, we can get a deal done in 6 to 9 months, or with 12 months at the latest. And like I said, it's a newer model, but when you think about how hundreds of millions has been invested in loss in the acquisition to Amazon automation, I argue like I'm only looking to raise 1 to 5 million for this service, and then it's done. I'm not doing it for other people anymore. At that point, I'm going to just teach people how they can do it for themselves, rather than assuming all of this risk and liability to do it for everybody. And that's one of the big opportunities. It's just limited, and there's not a lot of clients or companies that are offering to help people buy businesses for them. So now let's go over the pros. And the biggest pro is getting equity. So when we acquire a business for you, the client, you get equity, we get equity. And so that's the biggest difference between Amazon automation, is there's like a real incentive for us to complete the transaction, okay? So like when we get a deal done and we get 10% equity in a $3 million business, you get 300,000 in equity, we get 300,000 in equity. So obviously we would love, that 50,000 up front, but there's way more upside by completing the transaction. We also get cash flow. Right, so by completing that transaction, we get equity and cash flow, which is all the reason in the world to complete that transaction. Okay, another main pro is you're getting US staff. You're getting myself and my team that you could see every single week. We have meetings on Monday and Wednesday where we bring all of our clients together and you can see exactly what it is that we're doing. Right, so we have weekly reportings where we constantly hold ourselves accountable on the progress of the pipeline so that you, the client, knows exactly what it is that we're developing and how the app is growing on your behalf. A huge pro is there's literally trillions of dollars in equity available in the acquisition space, and 80% of the businesses listed don't sell. And so there's a massive opportunity to carve into those trillions of dollars in equity available, and that's why we created the service, because quite frankly, doing this on an individual basis is too difficult. And that's why 96% of people that try to get a deal done never do, okay? And one of the major pros that you get is ownership of the asset. So when we acquire a business, your name is literally on as an owner. So there is no like funny business of like hiding money or lack of transparency. You literally own the company, you have shares, you get the tax returns, you get the monthly reports and everything that's going on within that asset. And then finally, the multiple on the resale. That's like the biggest upside. There's a reason why 100% of billionaires do it through private equity. It's because when you acquire a business at 3 million and then you can grow it to 7 million, you can sell it for like 12 million, right? So you're able to like spend 50K and then sell something for 12 million. If you had 10% of a $12 million business, now you get $1.2 million, right? That's like a massive multiple that you receive. And then we also receive it as well, and that's our incentive for completing the transaction. And so I'm hoping you're getting a little bit paradigm shift to see the differences between Amazon automation, a model where literally hundreds of millions of dollars has been invested and lost in the market across dozens of companies. Dozens of companies are offering this service, and they're hurting a lot of family around the world because the service is saturated, it doesn't work. Versus this innovative model, acquisition automation, where there's my company and maybe like there's like one or two other companies that offer this service that helps people buy businesses. There's a clear win on the other end of the transaction and a reason for us to complete it. And we really have no competition when you think about it. And so that's why if you're a prospective client and you were comparing Amazon to acquisition automation, there really is no competition. Another thing I would say is a huge pro is the accountability and the transparency. Like with Amazon automation, you pay 50K for a service and then you just have one-on-one access to that team and the company that you hired, but they don't introduce you to all the other people that bought a store from you. While with our company, we actually have an app where you literally have direct access to all the other people that hired us. And so for that reason, we have a clear reason to deliver, because then all of our clients can conspire against us and shut us down, right? So we have an app where we connect all of our clients. We have a feed of recordings where we constantly report on the progress of the pipeline. And we also have weekly meetings on Monday and Wednesday so that we can hold ourselves accountable and deliver relevant progress on the investment. And so that's the quick overview on Amazon versus acquisition automation. Like I said, I'm only looking to raise $5 million for the service. And I genuinely believe by doing that, I can completely debunk this entire industry, the concept of starting e-com stores from scratch. It doesn't make any sense to hire a company to build and start a store from scratch, hoping that it becomes profitable. What you should be doing is hiring those same e-com companies to be doing our model. And that's exactly what's going to happen when the market discovers that it doesn't make sense to hire people to start stores from scratch, hoping that it becomes profitable. Instead, you should hire an e-com expert to go find a business that's already running, and then the team can take it over and help it grow. and then there's a clear reason for both parties to profit and to benefit. So I hope you got great value out of this breakdown on why Amazon automation is a flawed model and it's on its way out. And as more people consume this information, they're going to realize that acquisition automation makes much more sense. You should hire experts to help you buy businesses, not start ones from scratch. I hope you got great value out of this. And if you're interested in learning more about acquisition automation, check us out at acquisitionnetwork.io or check out my free training. It'll be posted below. How to buy a profitable business without doing the work. It goes into all the detail on my entire team, how I invested over $2 million to set up this software, and how you can leverage my network and team to get your first deal done. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.